Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Intuition Fridays. I'm Shannon, and with me is my wonderful co host, Penny Kelly. Welcome, Penny.
Hi, Shannon. Oh my, it's good to be here. Let's enjoy this as long as it lasts because we've had some weather difficulties. It's really not the technology; it's the weather. But yeah, so um, it's good to be here more than you guys know, and I hope everybody out there is doing okay.
Absolutely. And so, just to let everyone know, Penny is having a big storm near her place right now. So, if her power does go out, then we're going to wrap up the show early. So, we're going to try and make it the full hour here.
All right.
All
Oh
right.
yeah.
Now, to begin as usual, if you already haven't liked, shared, or subscribed to Beyond Mystic's YouTube page, if you could please do so, it really helps support and grow the channel. It's very much appreciated. Additionally, Penny, there is
Yep.
mycocolife.com.
And you should
Where
probably say there is a landing page coming. So it looks a little plain right now, but
That's all right, Penny. If you're looking for Penny's work or to subscribe to the group, this is where you can find it, right, Penny?
yeah, that's the school. That's where all the people gather, take the classes, talk about the classes afterwards, ask questions. It's really a wonderful place.
Wonderful. And again, if you're interested in booking a consultation with me, these consultations can be found on the beyondmystic.net website under consultations. And don't forget to use the code BeyondMystic at checkout to save 10% off. All right. So,
Okay.
getting into today's topics, Penny.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
are we going to pick up where we kind of left off last time?
We are going to pick up where we left off. So
Okay.
when we last ended, we were talking about, I believe we were on the electricity or the exercise the body needs to generate electricity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we had been talking about a whole slew of things. We started with breath work and how important and how powerful that breath work is. If you know how to do that, I mean, everybody breathes. You at
That's right.
least have the basics
That's
down
right.
pat. Yeah. And then we covered nutrition or we talked about it. And actually, we were kind of all over the board.
Yep.
But yeah, we're at a point now where, from just my perspective, I don't know what other people are seeing, but it's really important that we understand how to use breath work, how to get better nutrition, generate more electricity in the body, use consciousness more. I was going to say more better. That's really bad English. More and better,
Yes,
and with more deliberate, like this is what I want kind of thing. This is what I'm trying to make happen.
yes,
That's really a critical part of I think where we're at. And so I thought I don't really remember what we said last time, but any kind of recap would be good because the body is an electrical system
yes.
and your muscles are your battery packs. Those muscles are all connected to various organs. There's a whole electrical circuit in the body, and you've all heard of acupuncture. That works because the ancients mapped the electrical system of the body and knew how to send energy, electricity, which is energy, where they wanted it to go and how to stop it when they needed to stop transmission. So a part, a muscle, an organ, a bone, an area, sometimes a whole region would go quiet and they could, get in there and mess around, do something. that they needed to do. Um, and then, start it up again. It's kind of like
Absolutely.
turning off, what do you call that? The main power switch in your electrical box. Like, shut it down. We're going to work on the living room lights or the kitchen toaster plug or whatever. So we have this amazing system in the body. And when you lose your muscles, those muscles are unable to hold enough electricity to feed the organs to keep their energy going. And that's when we get into all kinds of problems. The pancreas sort of poops out like, I'm tired. It really isn't as tired as it is. It's overworked and underfunded with energy. And that, and so you end up with all kinds of diabetic stuff. How do you overwork the pancreas? You eat too much cooked food. You eat too much food. You eat food that doesn't have any enzymes in it. You eat too much sugar.
That's right.
And all of that gets in the way. So I can't say enough about electricity. You don't exercise to lose weight. You lose it, or you exercise to trigger or generate electricity. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's right. But along the same lines of what you were saying about the pancreas requiring those types of nutrients, the other thing for people who have issues with pancreas or diabetes, for them to recognize is that is also signaling that you're not getting enough sweetness in life. Like not physically sugar sweetness, but enough joy in life, enough. You're really not as enjoying it as much as you could be. You feel like, you really feel depleted of the joy and sweetness of life. And so that absolutely does affect the vessel as well.
It does. And the way that works is the frequency set that you hold generates chemistry. Chemistry runs, the organ, whatever it is. And when your frequency set is missing joy,
yes,
it very often results in a blockage of energy moving freely up and down the spine. And what's right in the middle, up and down, is that pancreas. It's right behind the stomach. It looks about the size and shape of a New York strip steak.
Okay.
And when you don't have enough joy in your life, you don't breathe correctly, and you don't move in such a way to allow electricity that is there to move. And why? Because you're stressed. You tighten. Yes. You tighten, and no joy. No, no juices from the pancreas.
That's right.
So, yeah. So it's really a critical thing. And we really are at a point. Lately, I've been saying to people, I'm afraid. I'm actually kind of afraid that because of what's happening in the world, we're going to run into some pretty serious shortages of a lot of things.
Yes.
That has the potential, we'll say it this way.
Yes.
That has the potential to generate what I call an uncontrolled detox. When you suddenly change your diet, when you suddenly start exercising, when you suddenly have to start physically moving to make life work for you, let's just pretend that we're in Africa for a minute, and your water has to go be collected. So now, instead of just walking over to the sink, which is like 3 or 4 steps for most people, turning on the water, getting, whatever you need, now you have to go find it, you have to go haul it, you have to carry it, all of that kind of extra motion is like an energetic detox for the exercise part of you. And when that is coupled with not having all the regular foods that you eat, a sudden detox from sugar, it triggers this massive detox in the body in which the body says, let's get rid of all those cells that were made with that stupid sugar. And the body doesn't talk like that. That's just me saying it. But it immediately starts rebuilding. It starts tearing down the old cells that were made poorly or inefficiently and trying to replace those with new cells that have the new energy signature and the new nutritional signature of whatever you're eating. When you get into an uncontrolled detox, that can be overwhelming. And so it's dangerous. When everything in the body is breaking down all of a sudden, the result for humans is that you need to know how to do some detox to efficiently remove a lot of that stuff.
Yes.
Whether that's a liver flush or colon sweep or the purge or fasting or castor oil, olive oil sweat bath or whatever it is, the body needs help. And when you don't help it, the immune system gets overwhelmed and all sorts of bad things happen. Cancers grow, systems shut down, sometimes because they just can't keep going. And it becomes life and death is really what it becomes. And we're headed into a period where that may occur. And you need to know how to not only generate electricity to speed up some transactions, healing transactions, use your consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah. And all of that is really, really critical. And if we don't, if a few people understand that and can share that information with family or friends that are struggling, then we'll have more people in the long run who make it through what we're headed into. And that, I think, that's a good thing.
Now, I completely agree with you, Penny. And I would say one of the most important things to really make it through this transition that we're living through is to absolutely work on your nervous system. So when we think of really what is going to be, because I know that in this community, there's a lot of different ways that people are envisioning this split, this transition, this change of frequency happening. And it may not be the way that a lot of people imagine it to be. While there may be earth shifts and devastation of that type in certain locations, what people might actually find most people having the hardest time with is the nervous system and unable to match the new frequency. And that is really what is going to I mean, it's already happening now, right? We see more and more people struggling at younger and younger age with major issues in their overall systems. So working on your nervous system should be priority for everyone out there.
Yeah, I agree. Without the nervous system, that's your electrical distribution system and your tracking of what's happening in the world.
Yes.
You're going to struggle. There'll be all kinds of phantom pains that occur. The stuff in the body, the organs and the tissues, they need to move and shift their own position. People roll over at night when the liver says, okay, I need to be in a different position. And so you move in different pressures, compressions, flows, fluid as well as electrical occur. And all of that is really helpful for the body. And we don't really seem to have a good grasp, a good grip on how the body actually works and what it needs. And so we mostly just feed it and ignore it, make it look pretty. That's it.
That's right.
Yeah. And the nervous system, that's your antenna system as well. I often tell my students, keep your antenna up because that's, what's happening out there. You need to know that so you can adjust as well as contribute the right thinking to the soup, we'll call it, to the
Yeah,
global soup of consciousness. And whatever the balance is in that consciousness is what we're going to experience. So
right.
it's an important piece. Um, it's really, let's go back to the joy thing.
Yes,
If you're contributing joy, that helps tip the balance toward things settle down, things start working, people start working together. If you're contributing anger and misery and vengeance, well, that tips the balance in a direction I'm not interested in. So
that's
um,
right.
that's it. It's up to us, and that's
That's
going to be really clear over this next 3-4 years.
And so that's why it's important, if when you're looking out at the external world, if you find
Yes.
yourself really emotionally attached or very triggered by what's going on, this is an indication that you need to spend more time, instead of focusing on what's out there and happening out there. This is where you bring it internal and work on the internal. The more settled you become with a healthy level of detachment, where you're able to carry what is happening and understand there's a higher perspective to it as well, the better off you're going to be. But this is not about getting very intensely emotionally wrapped up with what is happening in the external world, because the changes are going to happen, whether you get triggered by them or not. So it's better to be not triggered by them.
Right. Yeah. And I do, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, there's a lot happening. Um, Somebody up here, I'm in Michigan, and somebody somebody who was an immigrant or a transplant from Lebanon, had family members who were killed by Israeli strikes in
Ah,
Lebanon. And he turned around, piled up his car full of explosives, and drove right through the walls of a temple or synagogue, I guess it was, um, up here in West Bloomfield, where I used to live. And it's like, oh wow! And he hurt somebody. He ended up um, really getting shot and killed before he could detonate his bombs. Thank God.
right.
But that kind of thing is the sort of thing, I think, that's why you need your antenna.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
situational awareness everywhere you go now. And yes, it's not what I would set up if I ran the world. I don't think we would be doing this. It's really about love. It's about joy. It's about everybody getting what they need, except for those people who think they need to control the whole world.
That's right.
They have to. We're going to come to what do they call it? Come to Jesus moment. I think
Yeah.
that's how they say it. In which we realize that we need a different system of governance, because our governance is prone to all kinds of corruption, to being bought and paid for, to being bribed, um, to doing some really ugly things, and that takes energy. You
Oh,
have to
yes.
be healthy.
Yes. And and when we're speaking about that, I mean, all of us can relate to different types of corruption or internal sabotage that we've been witnessing on all different levels. I mean, even where I live, the city, I'm in Ottawa, and the downtown core has changed so drastically in the last 4 years, especially with the availability of free drugs. And it's heavy drugs, like you
Really?
used to see people suffer, and there was some homelessness, but now what you're witnessing, they're like walking zombies. So they literally um, are keeled over in the streets, just as people and children are walking by. It's the same situation where if you're parking your car in the downtown core, they don't even wait till you're really out of the car and leaving before they're trying to open the handles of your car to break in and take or
Oh my
what
God.
do whatever they can. So I'm saying
Wow.
the situation has um, become very really out in the open. really out in
Wow.
the open. So this is where more and more people need to be sort of questioning where their tax dollars are going and what we continue to support by continuing to allow these things to take place when
That's
you can feel there's a form of sabotage there. If they were really concerned with people's health, they
yeah.
would spend the tax dollars more towards programs and situations that really meant something to people who are struggling, really assisting instead of providing them, you know, things that do further harm. And I mean, I know I've talked about MAID before in Canada and how they just keep widening and widening who can go through that program. Now you don't even have to be terminally ill. You just have to be. I mean,
Just
they're
tired
putting
of the whole
young
thing.
people through MAID who are suffering, you know, depression that can be
I,
rectified. And so it's a sad situation all around because you can really see it happening in real time.
yeah. Yeah. I think we need to be asking a question. Years ago, there, oh, good grief. Hang on a second. Um, I think that's off. Years ago, there were a few homeless people in the US.
Mm-hmm.
You might see them, back when I was a young thing, and I would walk to work in downtown Detroit from the parking garage, what felt like forever in those stupid high heels, to the office. And there might be one or two guys who were really, hang on a second,
That's okay. In the meantime, Penny, I'm going to bring this up for everyone because there is a promotion going on right now with C60. So,
yes,
and I know you love the C60 products yourself, right, Penny?
yeah,
So,
right.
if you go to the C60 site, you can now save 25% off of the regular or sugar-free cherry gummies.
Oh,
Just use the code BEYOND25 at checkout, and this is until the end of March.
oh, very nice, very nice. Okay, so let me go back to my question that I was starting to form. Why are we seeing so many people being dumped out of their houses?
Ah,
I
yes.
mean, we can ask ourselves that question and say, well, the reason is there's all sorts of logical reasons. Well, they don't want to work, or they're not healthy, or they don't have the skills, or they can't hold a job and they're not committed, or there's a tendency, first level, to blame the person. The second thing is the debt trap that everybody gets into. And
Yes.
that's a little more generous to the individual. Well, they got caught in debt and they didn't pay their bills. Why didn't they pay their bill? Well, maybe they got, let go from their job or whatever. And the debt just keeps on compounding.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another level that says, there are a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people who don't have, quote unquote, a home,
That's
a
right.
brick and mortar home, we'll call it. Why? Are we being moved out of that stationary kind of mindset and lifestyle that has caused all of us to take on the debt, that ruined our health, that made it impossible to go to work? Are we being moved from that kind of lifestyle deliberately by the universe that is saying, look, you need to have something much cheaper, much more sustainable, much more mobile if necessary, something that doesn't fall apart or need constant maintenance, which is what houses require. The kind of houses we build here on this planet need constant maintenance.
Maintenance.
And
Yeah.
that's constant money. And then you have the weather. We live on the outside of our planet. So the weather, like today, is blowing shingles off and tipping, porch furniture over and putting it over in the chicken yard, and et cetera, et cetera. That the weather is not something that we don't think we have control over it. We really do have a relationship that we should be maintaining, but not enough people do that. And then we have the other factions saying, we're going to control the weather, haha, and we're going to have control over the whole planet, and they're trying. So what is the message to the people of planet Earth? It's maybe that you need to think about housing differently.
Yes.
Something that is more flexible, much, much cheaper.
Yes.
Something that doesn't take your whole life to be able to pay for. And people who, I've got grandchildren who bought houses during the peak of the housing price spike, $450,000 houses that are now worth, $100,000 less at least. And they're stuck with these giant payments and these god-awful jobs that are sacking their energy, and they don't see it yet.
That's right.
And then people can't make that work for whatever reason, and then they feel like a failure. It's not a failure of the individual. It's just we need to see that doesn't work very well.
That's right.
It'll work for some, and it'll
right.
work for a while, but it's not a sustainable way of life. And that is a major, I think we're coming to a major punch in the nose around housing.
Yes, I agree with you, Penny.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Really how that's gonna look. I mean, to be honest, the current houses that are being built are not even built for longevity.
No.
There's costs. There's a lot that needs replacement, repair, maintenance. I mean, with the orchestrated weather systems, I mean, the houses built now don't even stand a chance to some of these superstorms. I mean, if you were just looking, that crazy storm in Indiana, was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, the day before, that was just south of me. And I was up until the wee hours of the morning just holding this golden umbrella over my farm and over the whole of Southwest Michigan. It's like, don't come here. Don't you dare come here. And it stayed just to the south. But it's like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, that's exactly what more people should be doing. So if you're not aware of there yet, you can absolutely come together with people in your community and make huge impacts on the weather. You can cloud bust. This is all through intention and a form of telekinesis. So when people wonder why you should practice telekinesis, that is absolutely one of the benefits of practicing telekinesis is, you're going to fight sort of power with power. They think that there are a lot of people who are unaware of how intention and focused awareness, I mean, and especially with many individuals having the same collective thought, that is powerful.
It is. And I think it should be known that we used to have that relationship with the weather. Yes. And when the Vatican took over power a long time ago, they made it a crime to look up at the sky or the stars. The old science was really based on a really good understanding of frequency and energy as a, it was this energy and these frequencies were moving through the entire cosmos and the planet and the people, and they knew that. And you can see that in their artwork. But the astrology was the main science, and they made it illegal to practice astrology. That's how astrology got its bad name. It really is a wonderful kind of science. that understands big flows of energy and how susceptible people are to energy and shifts in energy. And now, finally, you'll see little articles here and there that say the the energy from the sun. We had an X-class flare, or something like that, and the rate of heart attacks and strokes spikes right at that point in time, because we are an energetic creature and we are susceptible to drastic changes in energy. But when the church said it is, you will be put to death if we catch you practicing astrology, or even looking at the stars and watching what's happening, the people that were of that time said, but wait, the weather won't work right if we aren't there working with it. How is that weather going to know what we need or what's too much for us? And they just got shut down. And that's a matter, that comment is a matter of record. And
Okay.
we are not taught anything about the real history, or
Right.
how powerful we really are. And it's really sad, and it's time to wake up. It's really time. So we have just a huge mass of people that are waking up, and they're on all different stages, of that
Yes.
wake up.
Yeah.
And I can see that, the fools who, let's go back to the Middle East again, the fools who started that war, that
Yes.
might be us, you know, and, not us, the people.
Right.
Nobody wanted that. Nobody. And I think that was a fatal mistake for Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu. But the difficulty with that is that the Christian Zionists really and truly believe that the Armageddon, the
Oh,
Third
yeah.
World War, was going to bring back Jesus. He was going to come back and he was going to be on their side. And I'm like, do you guys understand how stupid you sound, thinking that somebody that advanced and that aware and powerful and awake is going to take sides with you? What kind of stupid is that? And so the return of Jesus is really the return of Christ consciousness.
Consciousness.
And that is what they're triggering. And so I was looking at that the other day and thinking, okay, maybe there's a higher purpose for this war,
That's
a
right.
very high purpose. Yeah.
That's well, I completely agree with you on that, Penny, that there's a higher purpose for it. Um, you know,
Yeah.
from what I know of connecting with consciousness, the way that um, I've been privy to be involved in, I mean, there's no doubt that uh, it may not look like it in this moment, but we're on the right path. And I
Right.
do believe that the balance to life comes fully back by 2040.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I think most of the craziness is over by, I'm going to say, 2029.
Yes.
And but then there's this, like, I'll call it a period of shock where everybody's just like, and nothing, when I look at the destruction happening in Israel, for instance, um, I'm looking at, the engineer in me is, all those buildings ruined. Do you know how much time, money, and effort it takes to rebuild that kind of structure? The Iranians keep aiming for the Dome of the Rock. They destroyed the Knesset, I
Hmm.
think, on the first day of the war. But that kind of destruction that sets an area back a long way, and we're at a point where what I see is that in 29, over like the last half of 2029 and into like the summer of 2030, people are just like in shock. They're looking at what has been destroyed in the world and sort of thinking, where do we begin? Maybe we should start by creating the biggest trash company in the world in order to collect all this. And so it's really, it is going to be a new earth, a new world,
Yes.
a new human kind of situation, because everything looks like it's going to be pretty much ruined unless there's some kind of miracle, and I don't see it. I keep looking for it and thinking, where's the turning point? Where's the little insertion of something that changes the trajectory? So far, that's not there.
I think that point comes with the awareness of consciousness and the power that it contains. Not just the awareness of it, but the connectivity to it. So the more and more people are connecting to the field of consciousness, this is
Right.
going to change our trajectory, because within that field of consciousness, there are no deceptions, there's no lies, because you're directly connecting with each individual's true self, the true self. So then the the ego or the mind part of the personality is no longer there to create these types of games, these types of deception. The true self is not interested in power in any way. It truly is all about love and wants this harmony. So I do. And I mean, if you look at the children being born right now, there are more and more children being born connected. So they're aware of previous incarnations. They have the ability to, telepathically communicate either with each other. This is only going to grow and expand. I think, and I know we've talked about education, you've talked about education at length, but if our education system was actually teaching what was true and what was meaningful, all people would be interested in school. So you wouldn't have these big splits of people, especially in the community that watches these shows, that were not necessarily really even interested in school, or they always felt like they were sort of outside of the system looking in, needing to participate to a certain extent, but not really there to be indoctrinated by it.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, as we focus on, let me say it this way, my consciousness, what am I going to do with my consciousness?
Yes.
If everybody has that approach and they have permission to exercise their curiosity, their own will,
yes,
and to create their own path, then all of that information, that AI that's out there, it makes school irrelevant, because
that's
whatever
right.
you need is right there at your fingertips. And we have, my son is the farm manager, and he's been working on putting in new floors, and a couple new bathtubs needed to be replaced, and toilets and things. And so I said to him, I didn't know you knew how to do all that. And he said, I don't, but YouTube does. And
That's
I was
right.
like, what? And so the other day he's working on his brakes, putting new brakes on his truck. And he said I had to stop in the middle, and I wasted 2 hours looking up, some sort of thing in a Dodge Ram truck that has to be, you have to reset something in the computer before you can even work on the brakes. And he was fussing about that. 2 hours spent learning. And I thought, and how long would you have spent if you had gone to school to learn how to do brakes,
Yes.
to do this, to do that? It's just a much more efficient kind of learning. And
Yes.
because you're doing, as you're reading the instructions and you're doing, that is the ideal kind of learning. It's hands-on.
That's right.
And I think we're headed toward that kind of, what else do I want to learn? What else can I do? What else can I become?
That's
And
right.
there's so much out there. The sky is the limit. It's not even the limit. you know, um,
I
some
love
other
that you mentioned that. I couldn't agree more.
yeah, I know. There's all kinds of places across the cosmos that have other people. Some of those people are here.
Yes.
You know, there's point blank. And they're kind of like, oh man, we were hoping those people would avoid this, the war. But at the same time, they also look on the bright side. It's going to wake up a lot of people, and those that don't wake up will return for another round.
That's right.
Um, and it all works out, you
It
know.
does.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
there
go
it
ahead.
all works out, and everyone is on their own unique path. So it's not a
Yep.
race, it's not a competition. You don't have to reach a certain point. The whole entire process in itself is always about ascension. The amount
Yeah.
of times you incarnate, what you incarnate for, it's all about
Yep.
ascension. So there are definitely people who really also enjoy the third dimensional reality experience and
Oh, heck
don't
yeah.
feel like ascending either. And so it's everyone's personal choice, but how you do ascend is the more you lean into yourself, the more you trust yourself, the more you listen to your consciousness, work on your consciousness, and really start to allow yourself to be curious and experiment with the actual power of what your body and your abilities are able to do and attain. This
Yeah.
is when you're going to quantum leap in this ascension process. So if you're looking to raise your vibration, expand your awareness, it's all about going within, practicing within, experimenting within. Um, uh,
Yes.
don't look for it on the outside. Go within, because that's where it is, and no one can do it for you. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah, and you have to have enough guts, enough courage to stand on your own to do it for
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. I have a daughter who um, called me like last Saturday in terrible, terrible pain. So I go to look and see what's going on. And it looked like her spine just did this.
Okay.
It wasn't standing up anymore. And that poor little disc that was just, it was squeezed. I
Yes.
mean, it actually looked like the spine had slid and injured the disc and then tipped.
Okay.
And then the whole thing, the disc bulged out. And I said to her, oh, you need to go to the hospital immediately. You've got a situation that natural medicine is not going to do much
Right.
good. You need first some rescue. And I said, and then we can work on the consciousness part of it.
Yes.
And later I was working on her and trying to get her. I said, look, you have to do breath work. You have to get in there and stay focused. Go right to the middle of that pain and breathe into that and see that those bones moving apart enough for that poor little disc to move back, to kind of regain some of its shape, and the bones to move into position. And she's been in too much pain to even do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it for you. It'll
Right.
help, but
Yep.
it's not quite the same as her doing it for herself. And I
That's
think,
right.
as I watch, it's now been 5 days. This is Friday. Yeah, that's really the reason, was to bring her back around to, look, it's time to practice using that consciousness
Yes.
in a powerful, powerful way. And that is, I think if more people know that they can do that, and breathe into something and see that disc filling with this golden white light with pink edges, it has an impact. And you can sometimes, for my own self, I can feel the relief generating within the first 2 breaths. It doesn't
Yes.
even take a long time. And it's like the body has been waiting for me to say, okay, guys, come on, let's do this. And then we generate electricity of a certain frequency, which is a certain color, which is gold and
Right.
white and pink. And stuff heals. So, that's just one example of getting a kick in the butt or a telephone pole upside the head that says, look, it's time to go back to consciousness. We need this kind of healer right now.
Exactly, Penny. And further to that, I just want to let everybody know that when you take all of your focus and awareness in that moment and place it on that area that needs healing, nothing else is happening in your reality. You've essentially taken all your energy, you're laser pointing it to a certain area, and there is no other moment except the present moment. So
Right.
you're instructing the body to heal. You're telling your consciousness this is what you want to work on. So
Right.
trust me, what Penny has just said is the key to healing yourself, taking all of your focus, awareness, and energy and laser focusing it on the area. Your consciousness knows that you want to heal. So even if you don't give it instruction, it already knows how to take care of that location to bring it back into coherence.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really a good point. When I fractured my spine and I was healing that, I spent over 2 hours until I was exhausted from the breath work, breathing in and breathing in. And I have developed some skills around breath work. Okay.
Yes.
So I can breathe in, and other people have had 10 or 11 breaths, and I'm still just breathing in. And you don't breathe out. It is by not breathing out with the intention that the body's going to use that freedom, to do what it has to do. In other words, it's got a habitual movement,
Yes.
habitual motion with
Yep.
just with ordinary breathing. When you just breathe in and you don't breathe out, you interrupt that habitual approach, I guess I'll call it,
Yeah.
or status, and you allow the body to do what it needs to do. And you can feel the relief almost immediately. As soon as you breathe out, it hurts again. You breathe in, and it quits hurting. And you
Yes.
breathe in and in and in. And then finally you have to breathe out. But pretty soon, the out breath does not bring a return of the pain. And, when that night that I was so focused, you're right, nothing else existed. I was in that spine, in the bone, building, healing, stitching together,
Yes.
etc. I didn't care what time it was. I didn't care what was happening in the world. I didn't care, even whether I succeeded or not. It was I'm focused on reducing or eliminating this pain and healing this bone and that disc. And the next day it was all better. So
Exactly, Penny. So for those of you who don't really know what the anatomy looks like, it would also help to either have an anatomy book or go online and check what the anatomy is of that area you're trying to heal, because this is going to help you visualize exactly what it is you're trying to make happen if you're using the visualization technique as well.
that's really good. I forgot. Once in a while I'll do that if it's a part of the body that's obscure.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, well, how is that built? I go
that's
look
right.
and see. And that brings to mind another experience that I had. We heat partially with wood, so I have
Okay.
a big wood stove, and we get cords of wood, lots of wood, every year, and those cords have to be stacked. They're dumped in the yard, and they have to be stacked. So I'm living here. I'm all by myself, and I have 4 cords of wood, look like a mountain of wood to me. And I start stacking wood, and I'm throwing the wood from where the pile is to over where I want to stack it. And I just worked at that, and I was intensely focused. And I have to admit, this was right after I got separated from my husband, and I was like, I don't need you. I can do this all by myself. And that night, when I went to take off my sweatshirt, I could not move my arms. I had
Right.
torn both rotator cuffs.
Oh my gosh.
And you can't lay down, you can't
Oh,
lay on your back, you can't lay on your stomach, you can't move, you can't get dressed, you can't get undressed. And I was supposed to be teaching a class 2 days later, and I'm taking aspirin, not didn't have time to go in there and look. And one of my students comes to class, and she sees me all hunched up, you know, um, and she says, wow, what's the matter? And I said, I think, something wrong with the rotator cuffs in both arms. And she said, let me look. And, I was like, oh, I'm going to benefit from my own student. And she said, oh, it's not only is it torn, it's bleeding. They're both bleeding just a little, leaking just a little.
okay.
Blood is a terrible irritant to tissues where blood does not belong.
Right.
And I realized right then, it was like, oh, and I'm taking aspirin, which fluidifies the blood and makes you bleed more. So I thought, I can't survive without the aspirin. And she said, let me do some healing on you. So she sat me in a chair and she started her little healing thing. And by gosh, it quit hurting. And it took from October until the following April for me to be able to, do this kind of thing. I never went to have surgery. I thought, nope, surgery creates so much scar tissue that you never heal correctly. And I just kept talking to the body, breathing in. I would lean over from the waist and let my arms droop down. So they kind of got a little bit of exercise, just waving them back and forth. They healed perfectly.
That's right.
Perfectly. You can't be in a hurry if you're going to heal yourself. And that, brings me back to my daughter who's got the herniated disc. She's like, I don't have time for this. And I'm like, good luck with that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, Penny. The body's telling her something different.
You have to allow yourself to be sick, to be injured if you're sick or if you're injured.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you are, stop trying to manage your regular day-to-day as you normally would. This is your body indicating you need a break from that. So allow yourself that care and compassion that you would naturally be telling anybody else. But when it comes to ourselves, we feel like we must keep up the schedule, must continue to do what we always do. And that is the opposite thing you should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm just as guilty of that as anybody. Although I have my favorite love, which is writing. If I get incapacitated, I can almost always still write. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to use this to write. And so it becomes a time of joy in healing.
Yes.
A time of, I've found something I can do that brings me great satisfaction. And I think a lot of people have lost, I'm not sure how to say it. They've lost the other thing that they like to do besides make money. Everybody wants to make a living. But what is the thing that you love that brings you great joy?
That's right. That is besides the money, what else brings you joy in life? So what else? Activities, relationships, hobbies, interests, whatever it might be for you, getting outside and just enjoying the beautiful weather or, connecting with nature. But that's exactly it. People deprive themselves of joy, deprive themselves of making themselves and their joy a priority in their life.
That's right. That's right. And you just reminded me of something. One of the things that we deprive ourselves of is going outside.
Yes.
And that when you go outside with bare feet, and you stand on the grass or the sand or the dirt or the clay, whatever it is, not the cement so much. It has to be bare earth. plain, or well, bare. If there's grass, it's not bare, but I call it bare. um, that is an electrical detox for the body. Lots of people can't sleep at night because they have built up so much static charge. It doesn't move.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't drive transactions. And they never go outside with bare feet and discharge with the earth.
Now, along those lines, if you're living in a cold and snowy, icy climate like we currently are, there are also products like grounding sheets that you can also look into online. There's several people that offer them, but that is another way if you live in an environment where you can't get your feet to the ground necessarily because it's so cold and snowed over. So there's that option for those of you out there that are curious about it.
Yeah, you're up there where you get a little bit of snow, aren't you?
That's right. Now, I just also want to mention that in regards to something similar is a new product from Flora Lynn Farms. So this is the Fire Horse Trilogy, where she's put together some of these essential oils to really create a ritual and support you in this Fire Horse year. Now, I love all her products. I know that Janine's favorite soap is that black charcoal soap. Mine is as well. I did pick some up off of her the last time I saw her. But if you're interested, please go to the Flora Lynn Farms website it's floralynfarm.ca. And please use the code BM10 at checkout for 10% off.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. And that actually brings me to another possibility. If you want to change your thinking, or you want to sit down or lay down and do some deep breath work, etc., you might want to put a little drop of some kind of essential oil right on your forehead. And it has, my favorite oils in the entire world are so powerful. One drop, and it lasts like a day and a half. And they're from Sahu, S-A-H-U, Blue Lotus. Oh my God. It is astounding. And it changes your consciousness. It deepens you without making you impractical or unrealistic.
Right.
So whatever you're setting out to do, for some reason, it plays in the background and sort of helps you focus. I have never found anything that is quite as powerful as that Blue Lotus. And they have a rose oil too. You talk about wanting to expand your ability to love. Don't hesitate, you guys, to use essential oils. The really good ones, really powerful ones, they have an impact. And even the cheap ones have an impact. They have a wonderful impact. So do something that helps you help yourself is really the message there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And create consistency in it, because, trying to do everything at once is when people feel overwhelmed. So just take small steps and one new thing each week that you're sort of integrating if you're just starting, or one new thing a month that really becomes part of your day and something that you never skip. This is how you integrate all of these different practices and really start living a life that is supportive and very healthy for you. Not only healthy for your body, but your mental thoughts are supportive of you. They're very loving. They're very kind towards others. This is how we break out of these ingrained conditioning loops that we've all been,
I make my perfume. The only perfume I wear is a combination of essential oils, and it's 1/2 to 1/3 sandalwood.
Oh, nice.
And 1/2 to 2/3. I don't have a way to measure accurately. Patchouli.
Okay.
Every time I put those two oils together and I, just put a drop on, go about my day, I was in the grocery store more than once. And I'm going down the aisle pushing my cart, getting my groceries. And some strange man walks by and just mentions, "Wow, you smell wonderful." And I was like, "Oh." And then an aisle or two later, a woman who was in the aisle with me comes up to me. She said, "Is that you that smells like that?" And I was like, "I hope it's good." She said, "Oh my God." She said, "The whole aisle, I couldn't smell it anymore." But it has an impact. What I discovered is that when you wear essential oils and you wear those with intention, I
Yes.
love those two, sandalwood and patchouli
Yes.
together. What that does is it sets an attitude or a mood of the people around you that you weren't even intending.
Right.
They have a better response to the people around in the whole area.
Yes.
And I filled the whole aisle with that smell and wasn't even aware of it. The woman said to me, "I smelled you in the other aisle and I followed you because it smells so good." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And we had a little bit of a laugh, but um, don't hesitate to try to impact gently and smoothly other people using essential oils that you are wearing. People respond to that at the deepest level, even if they're not very conscious. And
Yes.
that's a good thing.
Yes, it is. Absolutely, Penny.
Yeah. Yeah. There have been even animals will come around when I wear certain oils. And
Yes.
I find that it's like, oh, they like that.
It, I
Yeah.
use the diffuser ones in my office, and my dogs will often come in and
Yep.
they'll end up smelling like that pretty much all day,
Yes.
whatever scent I'm diffusing in here, and they do smell lovely.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
I wonder if we could dump like a quart of that on Washington and
Yes.
city.
Oh no. Well, guys, Penny just lost power. I know we all saw it live happen right here. So I just want to thank Penny for coming on today. We actually did make it the hour. Now, before we go, I do want to just mention again that if you already haven't, let me just bring it up. Sorry, guys. That's not it. If you haven't already liked, shared, or subscribed to the Beyond Mystic Rumble or YouTube pages, we'd really appreciate if you do so. And also, tomorrow on the schedule, we have at 1 o'clock the Beyond Akashic show with Alexandra. This is a beautiful show. She provides so much wonderful information in connecting with your guides, the language of the ether, and describing well, she also does a beautiful meditation to connect every Saturday. So if you haven't checked out this show yet, I highly, highly recommend it. Additionally, there is a special show on Sunday at 11 a.m. And this is regarding the Aries season and the equinox portal with Astrid. So please check those out this weekend. Thank you all for tuning in, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. Until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.